Sometimes the most profound messages aren't written down in books. They're literally written into the world all around us, in the cycle of the sun, the food we eat, and even in the story of our own lives. Welcome. Let's decode some of these messages together. So today, we're going to dive into a text that encourages exactly that kind of looking, that kind of observation. We're exploring the opening verses of Surah An-Nahl, which is chapter 16 of the Quran. It's also known as the bee. And really, it's an invitation to go on a journey, to learn how to read the signs that are scattered all throughout creation. So let's get right into it. Right from the get-go, the surah doesn't easy you in. Nope. It starts with this incredibly powerful, definitive proclamation that just sets this tone of absolute certainty. This opening verse is really striking, because it's talking to two totally different crowds at once. On one hand, you've got believers who are getting impatient. They're eager to see God's promises come true. And on the other hand, you have the scoffers, the ones who are mockingly asking, "Yeah, right, when's it coming?" The answer to both is so firm and so clear. It's on its way, and our impatience isn't going to change the divine timeline one bit. It immediately sets up this core theme. God's decree is certain. And then bam, right after that, we get another huge point. The text says the universe was created in truth. Now, that's not just some poetic phrase. It means it was built with a purpose, with intention. It's not some random cosmic accident. And if you follow that logic, the conclusion is pretty simple. Whoever created a reality this vast and this purposeful is the only one who has any real authority over it. So after establishing the creator's authority over the cosmos, the text then zooms in. It turns its lens away from the universe and onto a much more intimate subject. Us, humanity itself. And it highlights this core tension that exists right inside of us. And this is where it gets really fascinating. The verse lays out this huge contrast, this paradox. Just look at this. On one side, you have our origin, which is incredibly humble. We come from a single drop. But then, almost in the next breath, we can become a clear adversary, arguing, disputing, acting as if we've totally forgotten how completely dependent we are on the one who created us. It's just a powerful, humbling reality check that's built right into our very nature. Okay, so from here on out, the surah basically takes us on this amazing guided tour. It starts pointing out these tangible, everyday signs in the natural world, and all of them are presented as evidence of a wise and compassionate provider. And where's the first stop on our tour? Well, it's the animal kingdom, specifically the livestock that have been the cornerstone of human civilization for thousands of years. And the text is so specific about these blessings. It's not just about survival. I mean, yes, of course, there's warmth from wool and there's food from milk and meat, but the verses also point to something a little more subtle, the aesthetic beauty, the pure enjoyment we get from them. That sight of a herd coming home at dusk. It's a provision for our bodies, for sure, but also for our souls. So after laying all of this out, these clear, undeniable gifts, the text just stops and asks this simple, direct question. It's meant to be a pause, a moment for you to personally reflect. It's a call to really cultivate gratitude for the gifts that we might otherwise just completely take for granted. All right, next up on our tour, we move from the animal kingdom to the very rhythm of our own lives. The text presents the cycle of night and day, not as some random astronomical thing, but as a purposeful system. Night is a covering, a time for rest, for replenishment. Day is for getting out there, seeking your sustenance, being active. It's another sign, waiting there for anyone who's willing to listen and reflect. And then you look up, and from the sky comes rain. And the text just unrolls this incredible list of what comes from that single source of water. You've got grains, you've got dates, grapes, olives, pomegranates. I mean, the list goes on. But the crucial point here is this theme of unity and diversity. One origin, water, produces this unbelievable variety of tastes, shapes, and textures. It all points to a single, unified creative source. But here's a really critical point. It doesn't just list all these amazing things and stop there. No, the surah links it all back to us. It makes this critical connection. With the enjoyment of all this bounty comes a moral responsibility. We're warned against being excessive, reminded to be charitable, and not to waste. The physical gifts are tied directly to our ethical duties. And just when you think you've seen it all, the lens pulls back even wider. The signs continue in the sea, which gives us food and allows for travel and trade. And they extend all the way out into the cosmos, where the sun, the moon, and the stars are described as being subjected by his command. Their predictable cycles are there to serve us. They're signs for a people who use their reason. So we've had this grand tour of the outside world, right? From livestock all the way to the stars. And now the surah brings the focus right back home to the internal human experience and gives us a really humbling look at our own lives. Look at this cycle. It's laid out so clearly. We're created, we're given this period of strength and knowledge. But for some of us, life goes on into old age. And that can be a return to frailty, a time where even our knowledge can start to fade. It's such a powerful reminder that our strength, our intellect, our very lives, they are all temporary gifts. All right, so after presenting all of this evidence from the world around us and from the life within us, the text makes its final call. It asks us to put it all together, to synthesize these observations, and, well, to use our intellect. It's basically asking us, hey, connect the dots. When you see this level of purpose, this level of provision, this incredible beauty and order absolutely everywhere you look, what's the logical conclusion? What are all these patterns pointing towards? And this is the real kicker. The text challenges this fundamental inconsistency that we humans can have. It points out that a lot of people, if you ask them, they'll say they acknowledge a single creator, but in their daily lives they might act totally differently, placing their ultimate trust or their ultimate fear in things other than that creator. The surah then asks this devastatingly logical question. If God wanted to show you mercy or harm you, could anything or anyone else possibly override that? So what are the big takeaways here? How does this apply to us? Well, it kind of boils down to four main things. First, reflect actively. Try to see the signs in your food, in your sleep, in your surroundings. Second, avoid inconsistency. Try to align what you do with what you say you believe. Third, practice gratitude, but do it with moderation. And finally, remember your fragility. Remember where we came from and how temporary this all is, to stay connected to our source. And that really brings us full circle. The first part of Surah An-Nahl presents the entire universe as a form of communication, like a giant message board that is filled with signs. It's asking us not just to look, but to really see. Not just to hear, but to really listen. So the question it leaves us with is this. If all of creation is a message, what do you hear?